Welcome to a special series of This Week in Canton City Schools, where we will focus on the mental health and wellness of our students and families. I'm Mary Kreitz, a counselor with Child and Adolescent Behavioral Health, and your host today. On this segment, we are featuring our student mental health champions from various Stark County schools. At this time, I will have each student tell you their name and which school they represent. Let's start with...
My name is Madeline Morkel, and I go to Minerva High School.
My name is Evelyn Peffer, and I go to Sandy Valley High School.
My name is Isis Hall, and I go to Central Catholic High School.
My name is Addison Burgess, and I go to Central Catholic High School.
Welcome. Over the past couple of years, there's been a rising concern about the mental health of teens in the U.S. According to the most recent Youth Risk Behavior Survey by the CDC, 40% of high school students felt so sad or hopeless almost every day for at least 2 weeks in a row that they stopped doing their usual activities. Another survey found that 21% of teens reported experiencing symptoms of anxiety in the past 2 weeks. And still another survey found that 45% of teens reported experiencing mental health struggles so much that it made their day-to-day activities a lot harder. Today we're going to be doing a discussion panel with our mental health champions talking about teen mental health, the stressors that affect teens, and some of the things that help teens to cope with the challenges they face. So let's start our discussion today just by talking about some of the problems that young people face today. In your experience and in what you've seen others going through, can you tell us about some of the problems and stressors that high school students face today?
Well, for me personally, as a student athlete, I find trouble in time management with all of my schoolwork and activities outside of school, and sometimes it can take a big toll on stress and just my everyday activities because it affects everything I do.
Yeah, there's a lot to do and not enough time to do it in. Sure.
Yeah, I definitely agree that there's a lot to do, especially being from like a smaller school district. There's so many things that you want to commit to and get involved with, and that can lead to a lot of stress, like stretching yourself too thin.
Yeah.
I also agree with them as a student athlete. It's especially if you work as well on top of the sport you play and academics, you're stretching yourself very, very thin.
Yeah.
I think me personally, I struggled a lot with anxiety. Like going to cheer practice, going to any practices, turning in work, doing work. I know I struggled a lot with anxiety.
Yeah. According to a recent Pew survey, 44% of teens and 69% of parents believe that it's harder being a teen now than it was 20 years ago. From your perspective, what are some of the problems or stressors that you think are unique to your generation? Or in other words, what are some of the challenges that are causing stress for teens today that previous generations did not have to face, or that maybe were not as intense in the past?
I think now the use of social media can take a toll on a student or anyone in general. Seeing other people do stuff and wanting to do it, it can cause a lot of drama and conflicts with your friends, and it does a lot of bad in the ways you can use it, but it can also have positives. But in my experience, it's only done bad.
That comparison piece of how you are compared to other people in their edited, idealized versions of themselves that they put out there. Yeah, that's tough.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I would also say constantly being exposed to the news 24/7. A lot of it is negative, and it can cause a lot of crisis fatigue. Like you feel like there's so many things going on.
Yeah.
And it's good to be aware, but it can lead to a feeling of helplessness.
Yeah. Sometimes gives you a sense that there's more awful things going on because you get that constant barrage. We don't know if there's actually more occurring or if we're just more aware
Yeah, exactly.
of the negative things that are occurring. So yeah, that can be draining.
Adding on to what they said, I feel like social media is just a big impact in this generation, and there's the false image that people put out of what they're not. And then also I feel like there's a lot of academic demand, trying to be perfect, trying to get into the best college possible, trying to be better than how your parents had it and stuff.
Yeah, the expectations for you are very high from a lot of different sources, and trying to live up to that's a stress, for sure.
I agree with all of them. I think the biggest or the most unique stressor for our generation is social media. I think it causes a lot of problems that are more personal to be put out there and seen for everybody. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. Well, and so let's talk about that. There have been concerns about the impact of social media on mental health for years. In 2023, the U.S. Surgeon General issued an advisory on social media and youth mental health. And in that report, he noted that up to 95% of youth ages 13 to 17 report using at least one social media platform. And more than a third said that they use social media almost constantly. So what are your thoughts and experiences about social media and its effects on specifically mental health for teens?
I think comparison is a big problem that teenagers have now, comparing yourself looks or athletically or grades, and social media is a big promoter of telling others about how amazing you are or how you are above other people. And so limiting social media and screen time on your phones or computers or anywhere can be a very positive effect on your life.
Yeah, there's a lot on social media about how to look better, how to do better, how to be better, but also these examples of people saying, look at how wonderful I am. Yeah.
I don't actually have social media, but sometimes my friend will have it up and we'll be looking at it. And even after 5 minutes, I can already feel more insecure. It's crazy. She follows people from school, and you see people from school, you see them every day. So you think, well, their lives must not be perfect. But then you see it on a screen or on Instagram, and suddenly you feel like they've got it all figured out.
Yeah. Do you choose not to have social media? What was your reason for choosing not to?
I mean, after those 5 minutes and already feeling kind of insecure, I knew that it just wouldn't be good for me in the long run.
Wise decision. Yeah.
I feel like social media, it's a double-edged sword, I feel like, because there's also good, but there's also a lot of bad that can come from it, especially with the news, and then creating that low self-esteem from looking at other people. Even if it's a false image, it's still that's what they look like. Why don't I look like that?
It looks real.
Yeah.
It's hard to know what is the reality of things. And even when people try to show, oh, this is what my real life is like, sometimes you wonder, how carefully scripted was that?
I think social media can be used in a negative way. I think there are a lot of great things about social media. I think a lot of people can go on there on any platform and use it as an outlet to reach out to people and find people who understand them and who can help them maybe in similar situations that they're going through. I think there's a lot that can help you on social media. You just have to know how to use it and how much to use it.
That is a really good point, because social media isn't all bad, and there are times that apps can be beneficial. So can any of the rest of you add on to that with some of the positives of social media?
I think social media can be a form of creativity and an artistic motivator. It's a very powerful tool you can use to promote yourself, and even for colleges, they look at your social media platforms, and it can help you with your future depending on the way you use it.
Yeah.
I don't really have much experience with that.
Okay.
I feel that, like I said, it's a double-edged sword. So the good part would be it's a very good platform for like spreading like awareness for big things and like she said, promoting like yourself for college and schools. And I also feel that there's a big community like for everybody, so there's always something out there for somebody, so they're never really alone. They always have people to connect with.
I agree with that. I think there's really a platform and a group for everybody out there on every social media platform. A lot of small businesses use their platforms to grow. And I do think it's a great way to promote yourself, especially for colleges and for future jobs. I think social media can be a great thing and used in a great way.
Yeah, a lot depends on how you use it and what you use it for. So, yeah. There have been some positive news about teen mental health. 50% of teens report that they receive support from their peers a lot of the time. And 81% report that they have at least one adult in their life who makes a positive difference. And that's really important because these are some of the types of positive experiences that help people to get through difficult times and to be mentally healthy despite the adversity that they've had to endure in their lives. So can you share some of the positive experiences that you've had that help to restore your spirit and get you through difficult times?
Well, I play basketball, so for me personally, we had a rough season, and just being with people who are going through the same thing as me and we can talk openly about how we feel, and just knowing you're not alone can make such a big impact and difference in the world. When I am stressed or I'm feeling down, I typically find my friends who feel the same way, and we've figured it out together.
Yeah, that sometimes it's validating to know I'm not the only one struggling this way, or I'm not the only one that's having a hard time with this. You know, that really does help. It makes a big difference.
I would also say my friends, for sure. I also have some teachers and adults that I can turn to whenever I'm feeling stressed, and I run cross country, and that's a really good way to like relieve anxiety or difficult emotions.
Yeah, getting out and moving. That actually does physical health, but also it improves our mental health to get out and have the fresh air, and also to have that exercise and the energy and even that little bit of endorphin that you get from a good workout. So yeah, that's a great.
Yeah, I run track, so we all go through it together. We all feel the pain and suffering together. Actually, me and Addie used to run track together, so she knows. But when you're surrounded by like people that know how hard it is and know how tough it is, and especially like the team captain knows like, hey, we got this together, like using uplifting words and all that kind of thing. And for me personally, I would say more my coach would be a person that usually kind of reels me back in, like, it's okay, it's like you're gonna be fine kind of thing, because using words of affirmation and like saying, you know, you tried, or you did your best, or everybody's going through it. But
yeah, it's nice to have someone who knows you that well that they can say, you did your best, it was fine, or, you know, get you feeling good again when you've had a rough time. So that's awesome.
I think the best thing to do is to reach out to your friends. Like when you're in that position where you feel like nobody knows what you're going through and I have nobody I can go to, I think it's like important to reach out to your friends, because even like they haven't gone through the exact same thing. They've probably gone through something very similar, or are also feeling the same way, that they have nobody to talk to. So even just to talk to your friend or anybody that you trust, really, I think it's helpful for you to get it off your chest. It's nice to have somebody listen, and they probably have something to say too, or something they want to talk about.
Yeah, sometimes just talking about things helps. But when you can talk about it with somebody who cares and who maybe has had similar experiences, that really makes a huge difference, doesn't it? Yeah. In general, there tends to be a lot of stigma around mental health. And often people don't want to talk about their mental health because they don't want to be seen as crazy or to have people judge them. But the trend seems to be changing. With your generation in particular, it's changing because teens today tend to be relatively comfortable talking about mental health. The thing is, they just don't want to be the one that has to start the conversation. So what are some good ways that people who care about someone or are concerned about them can get that conversation started?
I think in general, if you care about someone or you're close to them, or even if you're not close, just asking them if they're okay or if they need any support, or telling them that you're there for them no matter what, if they need to talk, that you're there, is a big game changer. It can open up and people can feel safe and in a good environment to open up and tell you how they feel. That I think that has been an effective way that I found helps.
Yeah, it just really opens the door for them to talk to you. That's great.
I would definitely agree that like just asking the open-ended question, are you okay? And maybe sharing like what you're going through in the moment, because we all want to connect with someone, and knowing that like you're not alone in your struggle can help someone else open up to you.
Yeah. Such a simple question. And to ask it in a way that lets them know I actually want an answer. I want an honest answer, not just a, oh, I'm fine.
I also agree with what they said. Definitely an open-ended question, and then like that kind of opens the door, and like you can share your personal experience with them, so they know for a fact that you're not just saying, "Hey, are you okay?" just because they don't look okay.
Yeah, sharing your experience helps. Yeah.
I think another way to start that conversation is to take signs from the other person. For example, like if you notice someone who's usually like super loud and bubbly during class, to like something like an attitude change where like they're more isolated and like withdrawn and they don't want to be around people. I think just taking that as a sign and being like, well, I know you're not okay, we can talk about it. I think that's really helpful.
Yeah, even pointing out to them, I notice you're quieter than you usually are.
Yeah.
You know, that lets them know, I see you. I notice what's going on. And that can sometimes really open the door to have that conversation. You know, teens and adults sometimes have a difficult time understanding each other. It's like we're talking with someone from a whole other planet. What is one thing that you wish adults could understand about what it's like being a teenager today?
I think for me personally, that I'd want an adult to know just like things are different now, and I'm going through maybe some similar things they went through in high school, but with technology and just different ways that people have evolved, it's a different environment now than it was when they were in high school.
Yeah, it's a very different world, isn't it? Yeah.
Definitely say that there's a lot of pressure, and it can be kind of intense emotions when you're in high school. You're trying to figure out, like, do you want to go to college? Do you want to get a job? What job are you going to get? What college are you going to go to? How are you going to financially afford all of those things? So there's definitely a lot of decisions to be made in high school for teenagers, and yeah.
Yeah, just sharing that, yeah.
I would say maybe like the social media is a big impact on our environment in high school, because we're all going through change. We're all learning our new changes, and then there's big decisions to be made. And I just feel like there should be a judgment-free zone where you could talk to that adult and be like, hey, I need to understand this better, or what should I do with this, instead of them being judgmental just because you're going through a different experience than they did when they were in high school.
Right.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing I would say is it's not the same. Like, relationships are different, school is different, social media has impacted everything and everything we have gone through and go through. I just think the biggest thing is it's not the same. I think they like feel like they know what we went through, because I mean they did go through it, but it's just not the same. It's not.
It's not. There's another generation coming up behind you, so what would you like the people who are younger than you to understand about teachers and parents and what it's like to be in high school?
I think that it's important to know that no matter what, that people's intentions are most likely going to be good, and that they care about you and just want the best for you, and it's not trying to make you feel bad necessarily, even if it comes off like that, and you just have to be patient and understand that they want to help.
That's really good advice.
It's good. I would say just, understanding each other and just having that empathy for each other, that like you're not at the same stage. Like we're all at different places, but just knowing that like you can have people to connect to and talk to if you need to.
That's great.
I feel that, like, going off of what they said pretty much, like, people are trying to help you. They're not trying to put you down. They're trying to give you the best advice they can from what they've experienced in life. So it might not sound like nice or like something like that, but it's like they're trying to give you what they know.
Mm-hmm.
I think the biggest thing is respect and understanding. They are trying to understand you just as much as you're trying to understand them, and respect and not fighting with adults or anything. And just that will get you the furthest. That will build that trust for like a later date if you need to go see them. You know them, you trust them. So I think those are the biggest things.
All of that is great advice. Thank you, guys. Thank you all for being part of this panel today and for coming out. Struggles with mental health are real and can be devastating. If your own struggle has been so intense that you've had thoughts of suicide, or if you're concerned about someone who may be thinking about suicide, help is available. Here in Stark County, you can call the Crisis Center at 330-452-6000. You can call or text 988 to reach the National Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. You can chat online at 988lifeline.org. Or you can text the number 4 and the word HOPE to 741-741, and help is available 7 days a week, 24 hours a day.